You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Looking to get out there and stay out there? Battleborn Batteries lithium-ion batteries are here to power your RV, marine, and off-grid adventures. Designed as an easy drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries, these reliable solutions have 2 to 3 times the power, charge 5 times faster, are a fifth of the weight, and last 10 times longer. Offered in a variety of models in unique sizes and shapes, ranging from 50 amp hour to a robust 270 amp hour, and backed by a 10-year warranty. Battleborn batteries are built to fit your needs and power your experiences. On the road, on the water, and off the grid, reliable power is here. Check them out at battlebornbatteries.com. Hey everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Wheel podcast for another driver's edition. These are always my favorite episodes. Not that I don't like any of our guests, but I like when it's just Sean and I, and we're talking directly to you for the entire duration of the episode. I just went to the Overland Expo West, where I was expecting small crowds. And I was, pleasantly surprised to find out that that was not the case, that it was just as busy as last year. Now, they did release some numbers, and the crowds were down by about 1,500 people. So it went from 29,500 down to 28,000. But I was expecting much, much lower crowds because I just went out to the Overland SoCal show, which was in California, and I felt that crowd was packed. I mean, that show was just absolutely mobbed. So I figured the people that maybe would typically go out to Overland West are now at this show. And that might have been the case for a little bit. Maybe those 1,500 people, that's probably where that downsizing came from. But Overland West, to me, felt just as busy. I didn't notice that it was 1,500 people less. I worked the Winnebago booth, and Friday, Saturday were very busy. Sunday was not, but I believe that was a weather problem. It was damp, windy, and just a little chilly. I think our high was like 60 degrees. So I think that keeps a couple people out of the show. But yeah, pleasantly surprised that the Overland show is still running pretty strong. They now have 5 shows throughout the year, and it looks like it's going to be another good year for them. Even though I think as Sean and I speak a little bit, you'll hear that there's been a little bit of a downturn in the industry. And I think that's not just the RV industry, but the overlanding industry as well. We had that great boom. Things are starting to come down a little bit. Market pricing's coming down a little bit. The one thing that stood out to me at the Overland show is, because I am a Jeep guy, I do enjoy my Wrangler, is that Jeep is partnering with a company that you're probably very familiar with, Dometic. And Dometic is known for being very strong in the RV industry, but Jeep and Dometic are partnering up. Dometic is building, this is just a concept for the moment, building a rooftop tent for your Jeep Wrangler. It looks to me like it's going to be just for the 4 doors. But the nice thing about this rooftop tent is that it uses your existing hardtop that's on your Jeep. And what you do is you remove the Freedom panels that are up top. The rest of the hardtop remains the same. And now you're able to access that rooftop tent from the inside of the vehicle. Typically, rooftop tents, you always have to enter from the outside. So I thought that was really cool that you can enter from the inside. And there was another company there that is doing something very similar. And they're actually on the market. I don't have the card in front of me, but it's like Safari XL. I'm probably getting the name wrong. But they're also building rooftop tents for Jeep Wranglers. And the other interesting part of theirs is that you do have to change the hardtop, but it's actually extending your Jeep Wrangler by like 15 inches. They're not making stretch limos out of them. Adding extra 15 inches to your cargo capacity inside that Jeep. So people that are overlanding, of course, like cargo space in general is a must have. So the fact that you can take a Jeep and add 15 extra inches actually increases your overall cubic inch by quite a bit. And we're trying to get that company on the show. So even though I can't really remember their name at the moment, we are trying to get them on the show. But the Dometic one did remind me of their system a little bit. And I did talk to the Dometic rep that was there, and they had told me, I asked him, I said, so is this something that's being planned to be out by 2026? And his quote to me was, maybe 2026, maybe never. So that's just how concept ideas go. But I really liked it. In fact, we'll drop a photo of that Jeep with that Dometic top in the show notes so you can take a look at it. It's a nice, seamless, finished product. I think it looks good on the Jeep. it doesn't scream out to you like rooftop tent up on top of it. I thought it looked really good.
Back to the show, Kenny, you said that the camping was pretty full too, right?
Yeah, their parking lot was all sold out and the campsites were all sold out too. Yeah.
You know how far in advance you have to reserve that?
So you can start reserving, I think, at least minimum 6 months. I believe it's closer to 8 months that you can start reserving your site. I would say about 6 months. I feel like they released the dates after Overland East ends, the week after Overland East ends, which is in October. They released the dates and then you can book your site. So minimum 6 months in advance. And if you're planning on going to any of the Overland shows, I mean, they're all really fun. They're all good shows. But if you're planning on camping at a show, Overland West is the best one. You're in the woods. When you arrive, they don't park you. They tell you, all right, you have this camping pass for the weekend. You're in this section, but go ahead and find a spot that you fit in and park. All the other shows, they don't have that kind of space and they actually park you and you're kind of more, I don't want to say like in a lineup, but it feels more like a lineup and your neighbors are all next to each other. You don't get to determine the best way to face. Like for me in my Class A motorhome, I try to keep the sun setting behind my RV off my front windshield. And at Overland West, I can do that because I'm the one choosing where I park. Over at the other ones, they park you, they tell you which way to face. So you don't have that type of freedom. And the Overland West, when you're camped out there in those woods, you can't see the show. And it gives you a sense that when you leave the show and go back to your camper, that you're actually just camping for the weekend. Whereas the other venues, when you're camping on property, you can always see the show. There's no trees, there's no tree line, there's nothing really barricading or blocking or giving you the illusion that you're just out boondocking or dry camping for the weekend. Yeah, the Overland West is my favorite show for camping.
And because there's no hookups or anything, do they have bathrooms or porta potties or what do they have there for like amenities, quote unquote?
Yeah, so it is all dry camping, no hookups, but porta potties galore, dumpsters, trash cans. Geyser is one of the companies that usually sponsors them, and they'll set up like pop-up shower tents, I guess is the best way to describe them, so you can get showers on property. I, of course, have my Class A motorhome, so I just take my showers in my RV, but they do provide things like that. And then, of course, throughout the day from start to end, are food carts and different like food vendors. I mean, you can get almost any type of food out there, but you're paying show prices. You know, like a can of beer is like $9. It's like ballpark prices. It's expensive. You're better off. I'll throw Tembo Tusk a plug. You're better off bringing your Tembo Tusk and just making your own meals back at your RV than you are to like eat at the. Unfortunately, it's just better to make your own food than try to eat something. But yeah, showers, porta potties, and trashes there, but no dump stations. Typically, no dump stations on the properties. Every once in a while, because I do work for Winnebago, I will get a site that I have hookups, but it's not common. Overland West, I never get hookups. But the other ones are starting to give hookups now, like PNW, that's in Bend, Oregon. That one I will have electric, water, and sewer. I'll actually have full hookups at that site. And that's good for me because I got Belle with me. She's back at the RV all day. And it can be a hot show. And even though I got the Battleborn batteries and the AC going, I still, because I'm not in that RV with her, I still worry about her. So I prefer using my Battleborn batteries and solar as a backup to the electric. I know if the electric would go out, all right, now the batteries are on, run the AC for 8 hours. I don't necessarily want that to be the first line of defense. I like having a second line of defense or some type of redundancy when it comes to Belle being in the RV by herself. I worry too much about her. I'm sure I'm just over nervous about her, especially now that she's older. She's turning 11.
So I guess we can jump into a little bit of industry snapshot news.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're in a, I think, exciting times for you and I, Sean, as far as market goes and how quick this industry can change.
Yeah, I still just don't believe the numbers that the RVIA put out, like up almost 14% year over year, and a 15% or over 15% increase from March of last year for shipments. Yeah.
Yeah, their wholesale shipments. I look at these numbers too, Sean, and I completely agree with you. From talking to people at the shows, the dealers, the manufacturers and stuff like that, I don't know if I really believe these numbers or not, other than the fact that it seems to be the towable lineup that drives these numbers higher. I think that all the motorized are down, and it's the towables that are really saving the industry right now.
Yeah, so according to RVIA, the towable RVs were up over 17% from last year in March. Motorhomes were up 4%, and park models up 6.7%.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I mean, like I said, after talking to dealers and stuff like that, I know they're not selling like they used to. So if you're not selling like you used to, that sounds like you're down. That doesn't sound like an increase to me. Maybe that I'm missing.
So when you look at Lazydays, their Q1 2025 revenue was 165.8 million, and their Q1 2024 revenue was 270.1 million. So that's a 39% decline in total revenue year over year. So they must have been selling a lot of Class A high-end RVs in 2024, or people aren't going to Lazydays anymore, which I wouldn't understand that, because that's a big RV dealer. Most of their gross profit margin increased, but that was due to their service. Service and parts typically have a higher profit margin, and at Lazydays they reported almost 55% profit margin on service and parts for the quarter. So when you consider the RVIA numbers increasing by so much, but then you look at the actual revenue from a dealer, it doesn't match. I guess we'd have to look at all dealers and see which one. Somebody must have had a nice jump in sales for the industry to ship that many more RVs. So we're getting this news from RV Business on Lazydays. So if you haven't checked out RV Business, they're a great website with daily news updates.
Yeah, and we don't cherry pick the data. We're not, like we said, we're giving you the RVI data that's showing it up. We're giving you Lazydays data that's showing you that their revenue. Their revenue is up, but it's based on service, not sales. Their sales are down, but service is what's driving their profits at the moment. Share some information that's not on here because I just read it today, Sean, is that Winnebago Industries announced that they were laying off approximately 196 production employees across their 4 Iowa facilities. And the reason that they gave was because of decreased customer demand and a high inventory level. So I would say that kind of is counter of what the RVIA is reporting also. And Winnebago is a pretty big manufacturer. I would feel like they are a pretty good snapshot or view of what's happening in the industry also. They make a lot of popular RVs. So yeah, we're not cherry picking anything and trying to paint a picture. In fact, as we move further down and discuss a little bit more, we'll talk about a little bit about, dealers and manufacturing starting to lower their MSRP pricing because sales are slower. We're not trying to be, what would the word be, Sean? We're not trying to be we're not trying to counter ourselves here. This is just the data that we find online and from our research.
It'll be interesting to see the next couple of months, I guess, what happens, but it seems kind of at odds with each other.
Yeah, and we're going right into peak RV season. So I'm the most curious what happens in, say, September, October, when the season is technically at its end. So yeah, stay tuned, keep on listening, and we're going to try to keep you up to date on what the market's doing. And then hopefully this information can help you guys when you do go out RV shopping and somebody at the dealer's telling you, oh, you got to buy this today because, it might not be here tomorrow. Most likely it's going to be there tomorrow.
either it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Either one, for us, having more RVers like the RVIA news is great for the podcast and keeping us going. But it's bad for us both looking for new RVs because they're going to cost more if that's the case. Whereas if we go with the Winnebago Lazydays scenario, it's bad for the podcast because there's not as many new people getting into RVing, but it's good for us in that we're looking for new RVs. So it'll be a little cheaper.
Yeah, I'm hoping for it a little cheaper. I'm hoping that the Lazydays report is more accurate than the RBIA report.
But it just goes to show you, too, the other thing I wanted to mention about the Lazydays report, they had almost a 55% profit margin on service and parts. It says a lot for being able to do stuff DIY as much as you can because you're paying a premium, it sounds like, for having them working on it.
Yeah. You definitely want to be able to be a DIYer, a little bit handy. There's courses that you can take to help you understand RV systems and then be able to make those repairs on your own, because you're right, Sean. You're definitely paying the premium. I mean, we had Brett from the National Indoor RV Center, the CEO of National RV Center, and he said that if he could, he would love just to make his entire business program around storage and service and cut sales completely. I mean, that's just how profitable that service department is. And I thought this was interesting. You know, a lot of the boom that we got from RVing was from COVID. And now that COVID's been past for a little while, there's companies out there that are collecting data on COVID buyers. And they said that, I thought this was funny, this is probably a good phrase for them, that a lot of them were panic buyers, but a report actually shows that they have become repeat campers. And I mean, I don't doubt that at all. I think once somebody tries RVing or gets into RVing, I think it can be a little bit of an addiction, not a good addiction. I think you get to enjoy the outdoors more, and you get to meet new people, and you get to explore on your own terms and your own schedule. I think there's a lot of advantages to RV travel compared to other ways of travel, or RV vacationing compared to other ways of vacationing. So that didn't surprise me at all. Of course, there were going to be some panic buyers in there, but there are a lot of repeat buyers from that COVID era of the big boom. The people that got into RVing because of it are sticking with RVing. They enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that's another, I guess, point towards RVIA's numbers, is that people usually keep an RV 2 to 5 years and then they start looking for a new one. And we're right at the top end of that 2 to 5 years since COVID. So maybe that's driving some increase because all those people are now ready for an upgrade.
It could be. Yeah. It could be. I know I have a friend that just called me this morning with some questions. Him and his wife are about to buy their first RV, and they just wanted to run a couple questions by me. But I think that they're driven by the fact that he's gone out with me he has a rooftop tent on his Jeep, and he sees me in my RV and how comfortable I am. And I got my microwave, and I'm watching TV, and I got a dinette, and he's climbing a ladder to go up on his roof to lay down for the night. So I think maybe I was a little bit, I don't know for sure, but I think I influenced his idea of upgrading from a rooftop to an RV. Like I said, I think RVing is the best way to travel and enjoy the wildlife. I think it's great for boondocking. I think the campgrounds can be a lot of fun. Just overall, I think it's a win-win. But like Sean said earlier, make sure you're a little handy. It goes a long way.
Yeah. So the last thing in this industry snapshot, Kenny, that we had to talk about was that they just had the Power Breakfast, which is where like 1,300 industry executives get together and meet about the future of the RV industry. And they, I guess in a nutshell, are predicting sustained growth and resilience for 2025. So that's kind of good news too.
Yeah, I think so. And later on, we're going to talk a little bit about what manufacturers are focusing on for the newer generation of RVers and what's coming out. Yeah, I think personally, I think they're looking in the right direction. So we'll see.
Yeah, and one of the things that they discussed was the tariffs, and the tariffs are like on again, off again so much. It's like a game now. So I bet it's really hard for these big companies to predict like when we need to order new shipment, are there going to be tariffs or are there not going to be tariffs? And, what's the price going to be?
Yeah, and our next episode is with a company called Hard Impact Designs, and we talked to Michael, who's the owner, and he talks a little bit about the tariffs and how he has product and parts on hold waiting to see like what's the tariffs on do, because he's hoping that there's a pause in the tariffs and then he'll buy up some material. And then once the tariffs turn back on again, he stops buying materials. I would imagine, and he's, he'd probably admit too that he's a pretty small company, but you look at these big industry companies, and if they're playing that same game, which I'm sure they are, it must be a little frustrating and hard to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I thought the other interesting thing that came out of this Power Breakfast event was that they estimate that 1.2 trillion is contributed to the U.S. economy from outdoor recreation, which is more than utilities, mining, or oil and gas.
Wow, really? Well, I mean, we are it's incredible, but I guess it's not that surprising. We are a pretty large industry, the RV industry in general. And we do have still over 8 million households in the U.S. own an RV. And I believe that the renter market is 3 times the size of that. So I guess it's not too surprising.
Next, we can talk a little bit about some law stuff related to RVing. And one that I'm sure everybody heard about was that the Senate votes to revoke California's EV emissions waivers. And again, we got our information from RV Business, and it sounds like they voted to remove the vehicle emissions waivers that allowed California to enforce standards that were more strict than the federal rules.
Yeah.
And they wanted by 2035, all vehicles sold in California, I guess, to be zero emission. And they started having targets that had to be enforced by 2026. And it also, revocation by the Senate was also got rid of the waivers that are covering medium and heavy duty truck emissions and the nitrogen oxide limits, which would affect RVers.
Yeah, that was all under, I think, the CARB Act. So I guess these new emission waivers will, I guess the term would be protect. It's probably on protect the industry in a sense, and the fact that maybe they don't have to make changes as fast as they thought they were going to need to be. And I'm all about clean. I mean, Sabrina and I own an EV. I mean, obviously we would like everybody to be owning EVs. I would love a hybrid option for RVs. Why we don't have a hybrid option just blows my mind all the time. I can't believe we don't have a hybrid option yet. But maybe they were trying a little too hard, too fast. I mean, 2035 sounds like it's a long way away, but it really isn't. Time goes by so quickly. And I don't know. I'm a little torn on this one. I think California should be allowed to do what it wants to do. I guess this would be like federal stepping in, kind of. Would that be the way that you interpret it, Sean? I think.
I think this was more politics because the Republicans are in charge and California is typically a Democratic state. So I think it was just, our typical political battles that we have in our country. But I guess it's not really a done deal because there is some questioning whether Congress can impact what California is doing here because of some other laws on the books. And it's expected that once President Trump signs the bill that California will sue. And so it'll go to court. So I think it'll be a while before it gets settled. But I mean, I guess either way, I mean, if they are able to revoke that, then it's good for the manufacturers and gives them more time. Hopefully we head in that direction at some point. But I think if they're not able to repeal it, I mean, that's good for everyone's health, at least in California.
Yeah, true. That's true. And then more policy legislation. Just before midnight on May 7th, members of the House Representatives of Natural Resource Committee added an amendment to a sprawling budget bill that would have forced the sale or transfer of about 540,000 acres of public land in Utah and Nevada. You know what, John, when I first read that, I think I missed the fact that it was Utah and Nevada alone. And I just saw 540,000 acres. I thought that was nationwide. I didn't realize it was just those two states. That's unbelievable. I'm so glad that we're not selling off that land, because it goes later on. This is also from RV Business, that, it goes further on into the article that this could have set up for other states to do the same thing and maybe sell their public land. And as an RVer, as somebody that has a Jeep and that enjoys going off road, I don't want Utah and Nevada to sell off their public land. I want to be able to continue to use that. And I don't really know, so I should have dug in a little bit more. I don't know if those 540 acres were all usable for us, or is it just all tree and you're not actually hiking? But I bet you some of that is trails for motorized vehicles. And I bet you some of that included trails for hiking also, and camping.
Yeah, and tying this back to the previous discussion we had about the power breakfast, they're already saying that outdoor recreation surpasses mining, oil and gas, which is probably what the land would have been sold off for. Mm-hmm. So I think it's both better for the environment and better economically to keep the public lands, because you're not only driving money to those local areas, the local towns, for tourism and people going through while they're going to these public lands, but it's also contributing more to the economy than oil and gas or mining. Yeah. And I think the previous, like this article, this topic and the previous topic really shows how much, and I didn't really realize it until this week, actually. I don't know why. I don't know why. I should have paid attention to this more, but this really shows how the outdoor recreation stakeholders and lobbyists influence federal policy, because it's because of the lobby groups that are working for not only the RV industry, but the outdoor industry in general are getting these things stopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would imagine that escapees and FMCA had a lot to do with lobbying and getting this to halt.
But again, this has to go through the Senate. So hopefully they can keep that out of the budget bill so that we can keep these public lands accessible to everyone.
Yeah, and I'm afraid too, like, say this does sell and the state, makes money off, federal makes money off of it, then they'll look at other states to do the same thing. And, next thing you know, we're out of BLM land and places that we can camp with our RVs. And that's definitely not the direction that we need to go with more. We have more RVers now than ever before. So yeah, we don't want to be losing land. Like I said, I'm a big Jeeper and I enjoy going on the trails, and I don't want to lose that land as well. So now we got some trends on demographic, and this one surprised me. And again, we find this information and we repeat it to you guys, but I guess you got to do your own research too. This percentage doesn't sound right. It says that Go RVing did a profile search in 2025 to see what was making up buyers for RVers, and it comes up as 31% of RV owners are now Gen Z and millennials. And as somebody like me who's Gen X, I find that hard to believe. I feel like I see more people my age and older than younger than me. Now I'm at 50, I'll be 51 soon. I don't think I see that many younger people out RVing, but I guess there are a lot of young families out there purchasing their first RVs. But 31% just sounded like a really big market to me, like a big chunk of that share.
We were just camping down in Charlottesville. We went to Monticello and a couple of the Virginia state parks down there. But the campground we were in was pretty small, so we were able to walk around. We walked around the whole thing essentially whenever we took Toby out. And I would say the makeup of the people staying there was about 50-50. Gen Z and older Gen X and older versus Gen Z and younger.
Okay. I really don't have to start paying attention. I know when I go to the Overland shows, I'm the old person out there. At 50, 51, 50, most of the people out at the Overland shows are younger than me. But I feel like when we go to a Tampa show or a Hershey show, I'm not the young out there, but it's definitely people older than me are at those shows, but I'm gonna have to pay more attention, I guess, when I'm at campgrounds and see what's around me. I do see a lot of kids out there though, so I guess it is a lot of young families. 31% just sounded really high to me.
You're in that Class A crowd, Kenny.
That's part of it too. I'm sure. I probably will recognize a Class A faster than anything else because I am in a Class A, and I am young for a Class A. Even today, I mean, I was really young for like 8 years ago when I bought it. But yeah, I'm still kind of young for that. It does seem the older you get, the bigger your RV is. That is. But yeah, you don't see too many seniors, I guess, doing the van life. It always does seem to be like the younger crowd. Well, at least on social media anyway, you see them in the van life.
This next one's kind of interesting, Kenny. I'm torn between this. 29% of campgrounds added pickleball courts in 2024, according to RV Business.
Yeah, and I did just try pickleball for the first time last year, and I got it. It was a lot of fun. It's much easier than tennis. I wouldn't say it's easy though. It's still pretty hard, but easier than tennis at least. The court is smaller. The ball doesn't fly as fast because it's more like a wiffle ball material. I remember the first time I ever heard of pickleball was I was at a Winnebago rally, and this would have been like 2017, maybe 2018. And in my mind, I was like, I have no idea what pickleball is. And I wasn't picturing a smaller version of tennis. I don't even remember what I thought of, but I didn't know that's what pickleball was. Pickleball is funny in the sense it really caught on with an older generation, that our generation, the Gen X and higher. It's causing a lot of injuries. So I'm curious to see. Like, I know this says 29% more campgrounds have added these courts to their property, but if people are getting hurt, I would imagine that's going to slow the spread of just how much that sport continues to grow. Because what's happening is you get people my age and older playing this sport, and a lot of it has been head injuries. A lot of people are leaning back to hit the ball. They lose their balance, they fall over, and then they hit their head. So it's a lot of fractures that are happening from this. It's head injuries, it's twisted ankles. So I'm really curious. I think this isn't in the report. Somebody had told me this separately when I was taking lessons for pickleball. They were telling me that they believed that pickleball was on trend for becoming the most, I don't know how you would say this, but the people playing are more likely to get an injury than any other sport. I mean, you're talking about sports against like football and rugby, but there's more people getting injured playing pickleball than anything else. It's because of the age group that is playing the sport. We don't bounce back like we used to, and we're not as bouncy in the beginning. Like when I was younger and I fell, I wouldn't really break anything. I'd kind of roll and bounce right back up again. If I were to take a spill now on a hard court, I don't think I'm bouncing back up too easily.
Yeah, and I consider myself pretty athletic. I'm in decent shape. So, but I would rather see the campgrounds investing in better Wi-Fi than pickleball courts. I mean, Wi-Fi still amazes me how terrible it is.
Yeah, Wi-Fi at campgrounds still terrible. Improving Wi-Fi takes up a lot less space than pickleball courts.
Yeah.
You gotta invest in some more real estate to do the pickleball, where Wi-Fi, you're just talking about a tower. You could probably put it on existing buildings, your laundry building, your office, and things like that. Yeah, Wi-Fi, and maybe the campgrounds, Sean, are relying that people now have better tech in their RVs with the hotspots and the Starlink and the dish stuff. And maybe campgrounds don't see it as a priority, but I think they should, because we're going to talk about the next trend is still seeing a large spike in people working in their RVs or working from the road. And of course, all that stuff helps if you have that in your own RV. But I would think if you could have a campground that promotes that you have good Wi-Fi, fast speeds, you can do a Zoom meeting right from the campground and not have to worry about your own equipment. I think if the industry is leaning that way, you would think that the campgrounds would too. You would think that would be a priority for them.
Yeah, this past week when we were camping down in Charlottesville, I saw more Starlink antennas than I've seen ever before. So people are definitely going that way. But if the campgrounds would go that way, I mean, I would even pay a little more to stay if they had invested that additional money into better Wi-Fi service.
I'm surprised that the campgrounds aren't offering a Starlink connection, because I feel like they wouldn't need a lot of them, because Starlink doesn't get bogged down like other Wi-Fi service does. Like you can have a lot of people on a one dish for the Starlink. So, they might be able to put out 4 of them and cover an entire RV park. I guess that would be expensive monthly for them. But like you said, Sean, I'd be willing to pay a little extra to have good Wi-Fi. I mean, not even for work, but if I could pull up to my campground, plug in, and then have my Netflix in HD and without interruption, and my Amazon and all my streaming services, I think that'd be worth it to me. I would enjoy having better internet from the campgrounds and not always, because I rely still on hotspots a lot. We have Starlink, but it stays at the house most of the time. And so I'm still relying on my FMCA hotspot and my Verizon hotspot. And they're the only 2 that I carry with me now. But I mean, well, I was just out dry camping not too long ago, and neither one of them worked. I had no service for like 3 days while I was dry camping. I know that doesn't help the campgrounds. I'm getting off topic, but the campgrounds should absolutely be investing in better connectivity and not pickleball. That's my final answer as well. Just like the RV manufacturers. So we have a little article here that says from Times Union that tech savvy floor plans are on the rise for the RV manufacturer. They're prioritizing tech integration in their 2025 models. There'll be units that will come pre-wired for solar, for lithium batteries. They'll have bigger inverters in them. Something that they can like kind of go off grid for living and for remote work. Remote work is still very popular, or working from home is still very popular. Making sure that these campers are able to get access to Wi-Fi so that they can run their meetings and send their programs through Google Drive, even trying to upload. I mean, after, so this is a good example. It doesn't always have to be like video quality. When I got done the Overland Expo show, I went straight to dry camping. My service was so bad, I couldn't get access to my Google Drive to fill out my invoice to send to Winnebago. I had to wait till I got home before I could send my invoice to get paid for the show. So, I think today connectivity is just as important, if not more important now than it ever has been.
Yeah, we should it would be interesting to do a poll on like our Facebook page to see, would people rather see and campgrounds invest in pickleball or campgrounds invest in better Wi-Fi?
My guess, Sean, is that we're going to be in the minority here, and I bet you more people pick pickleball over Wi-Fi. 1, it's very popular, and 2, I still believe that there's probably still more people doing RVing for recreational use than for working. But our listeners could be different, so that would be great. If you guys even want to email us, Kenny at beyondthewheelpodcast.com. You can also email Sean at beyondthewheelpodcast.com, or you can leave us a comment. And I would love to. I bet you we are not the norm. I bet you most people would, well, maybe we should open it up. Well, then it becomes too much. Yeah, let's just stick with pickleball or better connectivity. I was going to say, what about just amenities in general? But that could be anything. So let's do that. What's more important to you, pickleball or connectivity? Let's see where our audience is at on this one. See how many people are retired and how many people are still working. But I think even just for the streaming, to keep in touch with family and stuff like that, the Zoom, it doesn't all have to be about work. It could be keeping up with friends and family. It could be your Instagram. It could be your social media accounts. And it can be your streaming of your entertainment stuff. So
yeah, like me, I have, my parents are getting older, just like yours. So it's nice to be able to be available if something happens, and to, have someone get in touch with me. And then I have 2 sons that do risky things. One rides a motorcycle and one flies planes. So if something happens, to either one of them, I want to be able to know quickly. And when you're out somewhere and you're relying on the Wi-Fi for your cellular service instead of the Verizon antennas out there, it's important to me, I guess.
Yeah. I think safety-wise, too, it's important to be able to be somewhat connected. Like you said, you got your kids, and I know Julie uses an inReach when she goes hiking. I use an inReach when I go off-roading. So I think it's an extra layer of safety as well. So we got a couple more things to talk about that I think are all pluses for the RV industries. And one is that from a report from Rover Pass that RV Business had mentioned, by 2027, there will be an additional 18,000 new campsites. So that's a lot. That's a lot of new campsites. That's not new campgrounds, though. I guess I should clarify. That's campsites. So these could be existing campgrounds that are doing expansions, or they could be new campgrounds adding sites. But I bet you most of these are probably existing campgrounds and they're just adding sites. But still, 18,000 new sites by 2027 sounds good to me. I think that's moving in a positive direction, and I like that for sure. Because when you fight to find a spot, two things will happen. One, you'll either not get a spot, or they're going to have to increase the pricing for the spots. So I think increasing the sites is just great news.
Yeah, and I think another thing that was pretty interesting about this Rover Pass report was that one of the things they highlighted was direct bookings for campgrounds make up nearly 60% of reservations, while phone reservations grew 9% and walk-ins surged 30%. Have you ever done a walk-in reservation?
I've never done a walk-in. I don't think I would even attempt a walk-in. Walk-ins must be really popular with maybe vans. Because I know for me to pull in with I'm not even that big of an RV, but a 28-foot Class A with 3 slides and a motorhome, I'm not walking in and just getting a side. I don't feel like I would anyway. Well, depends. Maybe I would in Arizona and Phoenix in the summertime. Yeah. Anywhere else, I don't think I would.
And third-party bookings, so like Hip Camp, Spot, and Airbnb bookings declined by 14%. Which, they're growing. It seems like expanding out to more grounds have these options, but according to Rover Pass, they decline.
And then you said, what was the direct reservations? Is that like me calling?
Calling, email, or just showing up?
Just showing up. Wow. I'm still not a fan of that calling, because it's rare that it's rare that when I call, somebody answers. They usually have to call me back and then I don't answer. I still like the spots a night. I like that idea better, booking my site. But I guess then you're booking in advance. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the email or calling the campground. I feel like that's usually very, very slow.
And here's why RVing is so great as a vacation option. The average nightly rate in 2024 for all the people in this for all the campgrounds in this Rover Pass survey was $77.70 a night, which was actually down from $78.05 a night in 2023.
And staying in a hotel's got to be
more than that
now. Yeah, I bet you the average is $125.
And if you have a pet, they usually add on like a $50 fee.
Yeah, some are doing a nightly pet fee. Some do a stay fee, but either way, you're usually paying a fee for a pet, and most RVers have pets with them. Yeah, RVing's the way to go, is what we're trying to tell you, folks. We're preaching to the choir, though. I'm sure if you listen to this, you're already interested in RVing, and you know all the benefits of it. Like Sean was saying earlier in that the article earlier about just how much money there is in RV travel. So the RVIA forecasts that 72 million Americans will travel by RV this year. So that means that rental is more than just 3 times, because if there's almost 10 million RVers, and every 10 million households own an RV, but there's 72 million people planning, that's 7 times then is the rental. It is what I'm taking away from that anyway.
Yeah.
Does that sound right to you? I mean, I think my math is right on that. That's about 7 times. The rental market is 7 times the size of the ownership market. No wonder why these outdoorsy companies and everything, you hear so much about them. They're really, it's the way to go. RV Share, RV and Go. I mean, there is quite a few of them. So I guess there is a good market for it. Yeah, there's a lot of options out there. And it's still, I think, one of the best ways, and Sean, you just did this, it's still one of the best ways to test an RV before you buy, I think, is the rent. You don't have anybody looking over your shoulder. You take it out wherever you want to take it. You bring it back to them. You get that full experience in that model that you're looking for. So yeah, I definitely still recommend renting an RV. Even I think if you are like Sean is, I mean, even if you're a long time RVer, I still think there's a lot of benefit to renting that RV if it's a different model than what you're used to.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Kenny, today we washed our 5th wheel, and I'll be so thankful when we get something smaller, because that is such a process to wash a 30-foot fifth wheel, it takes a few hours.
Yeah. And well, you're taller than me, I believe, but yeah, it takes 6. And did Julie help you?
Yes. Yeah, there was 2 of us. It still
Serena.
took us 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but at least she helped. I'm throwing some shade on Sabrina because she doesn't help me wash the RV. And it feels like, so I can wash the RV in a single day. I bet you it takes me about 6 hours to wash the RV. But for me to wash and wax the RV takes me days. I have to break it up into
we didn't do any waxing.
Yeah, I got to break it up in like multiple stages. And I usually do it by side, like one side, the other side, and then the front and rear can be done in the same day. So it's usually a 3-day process. And then, you know what, Sean, you had mentioned earlier, and we had mentioned earlier too, about, Lazydays sales being down. But here's, I'm not sure how I got this all the way so far down below here, but Blue Compass hits a record market share in retail sales. So that's the opposite of what Lazydays. But I will say, Blue Compass, man, they are. What would how would you describe this? They are on the heels of Camping World. They are trying to, I feel like, really compete with Camping World. They have been buying up small mom and pop places. They have been buying up. I think they even bought a couple Lazydays. I feel like Blue Compass is really trying to grab a large market share just market share across the country. They're really growing very, very fast. Do you know who's behind Blue Compass by any chance, Sean? Just curious if you know who the CEO is.
I know the president and CEO his name is John Ferrando. He looks like a maybe mid-50s to mid-60s year old.
They're growing so fast. Like, how do they have the I was going to say collateral, not collateral. How do they have the assets to purchase so much so fast?
Yeah, good question. They are growing fast.
Okay. I thought maybe we'll look into that, and maybe that can be something that we can tell you about in the next Drivers Edition, which is about 3 or 4 episodes from now. And also, while we're going to look that up, let us know what you would like to hear in the next Drivers Edition as far as, trends, the market, what is important to you? What do you want to know? Is it more about the campgrounds? Is it more about RVs? Is it about, I'm always curious what the market is doing as far as sales go. So that'll always remain. But anything else that you guys would like to hear, write us. And again, you can write us at Kenny@beyondthewheelpodcast.com or Sean at beyondthewheelpodcast.com. Either one of them, we'll see those emails and we'll add your notes into the next episode of Drivers Edition.
Yeah, so I think that wraps it up for this edition. And we want to thank everybody for listening, and go to our Facebook page, or put a link in the show notes, and take our poll, because I'm really curious about this now. I may have to jump on this pickleball craze if it goes the way Kenny thinks.
It's fun.
So please respond to our poll on our Facebook page. And we want to thank our sponsors, Battleborn Batteries. Kenny mentioned them a couple of times in this show. So they're great products to have, and definitely make RVing a bit more comfortable. So go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com. And if you could, please take the time to leave a rating or review on the podcast platform of your choice. We really appreciate it, and it also helps us reach more listeners. Believe it or not, it actually does work according to the algorithms. So we want to encourage everybody to please do that. And until our next episode in 2 weeks, safe travels, everybody.
Looking to get out there and stay out there? Battleborn Batteries lithium-ion batteries are here to power your RV, marine, and off-grid adventures. Designed as an easy drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries, these reliable solutions have 2 to 3 times the power, charge 5 times faster, are a fifth of the weight, and last 10 times longer. Offered in a variety of models in unique sizes and shapes, ranging from 50 amp hour to a robust 270 amp hour, and backed by a 10-year warranty. Battleborn batteries are built to fit your needs and power your experiences. On the road, on the water, and off the grid, reliable power is here. Check them out at battlebornbatteries.com. With the complexity of all the systems in an RV, I always say it's not if something's going to break, but a matter of when is something going to break. That is why I think an extended warranty for RVs is so important. We first interviewed wholesale warranties back in 2019 and immediately became impressed with how their policies worked, such as you can take your RV to any licensed repair shop, including mobile repairs. They also have personalized service plans, making sure you are getting the right policy for your needs. And if you think your RV is too old for a policy, you might be surprised to hear that RVs up to 20 years old can still be approved for a policy. That is more age lenient than most RV parks I've stayed at. Go to wholesalewarranties.com/beyond the wheel or click the link down below in our show notes to get your free quote today.